Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of our F1 2021 My Driver Career Mode. I hope you're all having a great day. Today we have racing here in Sochi. Excited for this one here now, as last season we had a decent run. Not a great run, of course, when we were in Haas, but it was still nonetheless a solid run for us, and hopefully we can replicate that with the Aston Martin right now, coming off of a very unfortunate end last episode in Monza with a DNF on the very last lap of that Grand Prix, as Yuki Tsunoda actually crashed out of the final chicane, collected both myself and our teammate of Sebastian Vettel. So all three of us DNF'd together on the final moments of that race, which is very unfortunate. Lewis Hamilton picked up the victory in what was overall a just wild Grand Prix in general, where we saw the championship leader of Max Verstappen DNF on like the second lap of the GP. So he has now had finally a non-podium finish here for the first time since the first GP of the season in Bahrain, where he actually finished on the podium, but a glitch put him down in 19th place instead. So pretty much that was actually Verstappen's first non-podium finish of the season here, which is crazy to think about now, as we're past the halfway point now, coming up to Russia. Then we have Singapore, Japan, the United States, Mexico, Brazil, Australia, and then Abu Dhabi. Just 8 GPs left in the season, and then we add 2 extra GPs next season, of course, with Imola as well as Portimao. Both 2 tracks that I'm very much looking forward to, and maybe even by the time we get that next season started, we'll actually have Saudi Arabia circuit as well, or the Jeddah circuit. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But now coming into Sochi here for practice sessions, now we're actually putting up some pretty good pace now here in Russia, and obviously one of the more easier tracks in the game. This racetrack is we go to Monza, which is easiest track in the game, and then I honestly think we go to arguably the second easiest track in the game, and that would be Sochi. So everything was going smoothly here, putting up some good times. The pace was there for once in practice sessions, and we would come through to set our qualifying pace here now, and we would just absolutely smash the Delta goal time that was set to us here now. So we would be up 7/10 of a second within the first half of the lap. As you could imagine, it would just continue to get better and better as this lap went on, up to 8/10 of a second. Then it would go to about 9/10 of a second. We would get up to about 1.1 seconds just about here above that delta. Now, this final sector, I struggled a little bit here now with the pace, but we still were able to hold our own, and we gave up a couple tenths and crossed the line there about 9/10 of a second above that delta time. So things were looking really good here at the end of the first practice session, and for the first time in I don't know how long, on the same compounded tire, we actually beat our teammate of Sebastian Vettel. So that was a nice confidence booster as well here now, as we would jump through into qualifying session number 1. A lot of sights and scenes around this Sochi circuit, of course, because this circuit also surrounds the Olympic area that was built back for the Olympics in, I think, 2014, if I remember correctly, in Sochi for the Winter Olympics there. So yeah, that's a really nice venue this is, and if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, I don't know if Formula One's going to be actually racing here in the future, because they're looking at doing, I think I saw like a street circuit in St. Petersburg or something. So that will be really cool to see, of course, now, as I'm not actually 100% sure if it's a street circuit or not, but if it is, that would still be really cool. I do love my street circuit racing here now, as we would come through there to cross the line, and I already knew it wasn't a good lap, and that would be proven. We were 17th place, so we had to go set another lap here towards the end of Q1, and I really got to start putting down better laps here in Q1, because we keep wasting a second set of tires that I do not like wasting, and that means we can't really use them in Q2 when it's most important to get to that third session. So every single time I always seem to screw that first lap up just enough to where I have to make that second lap around here. So now, as we came through though towards the end of this lap, we were about half a second better than our previous attempt. So I already knew if we could just hold on to that, we would be okay. And we got to about 8/10 of a second better across the line. Only go 14th place with another 8/10 of a second, but that would be enough to get us through into the second qualifying session. There is Sebastian Vettel would beat P11 there, as you see Latifi, Schumacher, Ilott, Guan Yu Zhou. They were all out there, and I think Giovinazzi as well, if I'm not mistaken, now, as you would come through to start the second now qualifying session here. Now, this car right now we've worked hard to upgrade this Aston Martin now, as it was a 5th place, I think, in the R&D when we started the season, if I'm not mistaken, and then that big patch came out and changed our R&D and threw us way down the order, and we've had to basically rebuild this car back to where it was, and we finally got there. So hopefully we can start to compete for these Q3s now, as I had to make a second lap, but I knew that we didn't have any fresher sets of soft tires in the paddock, so I decided to just stay out and run one more lap here. We were P11 for the time being, and we had found about a half a second extra once again here on my second lap in Q2. A bit of oversteer right there, and then down into the final turn. So about 0.6 of a second, just about. I gave it up a little bit there, but it would put us P9, but it wouldn't be enough to get into Q3, as we would actually qualify 12th place. But one of our best qualifying efforts of the season here as we get ready.
Welcome along then to Sochi and the Russian Grand Prix, one of 8 cities in the world to play host to both the Olympics and a Formula One race. It's a Grand Prix that's proven difficult to crack for anyone beyond the first 2 rows of the grid in recent years, so let's see if that can change today. Situated just 3 miles from the Georgian border, the 3.6-mile Sochi Autodrome has 2 notable overtaking opportunities into turn 1 and then turn 13. 18 corners in total here, 12 to the right and 6 to the left, and it's an average lap speed of around 130 miles per hour. With the Grand Prix nearly upon us, Anthony Davidson is by my side once again to offer his perspective. Let's have a chat about McLaren. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Lando Norris will lead us away from pole position, and P2 goes to Daniel Ricciardo, a strong showing from the Australian. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Hamilton, Sergio Perez and Sainz, Gasly, Russell, Vettel and the rookie, Tsunoda, Verstappen, Esteban Ocon and Giovinazzi, Latifi, Ireland, Lance Stroll and Guan Yu Zhou. Leclerc, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. And Mick Schumacher. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
Ready to go, lights out here from Sochi now, as you saw some grid penalties. That moves us up into the 10th starting position. Charles Leclerc, the most notable, all the way at the back. Then you got Max Verstappen, the championship leader after that DNF last episode in Monza. I'm assuming that's probably what led into this grid penalty here of having to get some new parts on that car. He starts down in 12th place, so he's going to have a lot of work to do here. Now, as we look to bounce back from that DNF in Monza here now on that final lap, as it's a McLaren front row, as we're going to get ready to go lights up now as the grid forms up to their grid positions. Now, McLaren always strong when it comes to the long straightaway tracks, and they're proving that once again here today in Russia as we're ready to go green. And now it's going to be lights out. We are underway here from the Russian GP. Lando Norris with a tremendous start, but Ricciardo, his teammate, not a good start. It's 3 wide in a sandwich there with the 2 Mercedes. It looks like Lewis Hamilton might have made some contact right there with Daniel Ricciardo there on his right rear tire, so something to look out for there. Maybe Hamilton picked up some wing damage now, as we were 3 wide into turn 1. I backed out of it at the last second there, and thankfully we avoided any contact, any damage and whatnot. Now, as you see, Ricciardo still in a Mercedes sandwich here now, as we have a side-by-side battle between Carlos Sainz there and Sebastian Vettel there, our teammate in that number 5. Now, as we are under attack from Max Verstappen, no point right now in fighting the championship leader. I let him go, let him have it, see what pace he has. He's on a bit of obviously a slower compound tire for the first opening laps there, being on the mediums now, as you see the Spaniard of Carlos Sainz still battling it out with Vettel, but not enough right there now, as Vettel is going to be able to move up another position right there over the Ferrari driver, just a little bit further up ahead there. You see Gasly so far with a strong qualifying effort, strong run going here on this first and opening lap. As you as well see Lando Norris already opening up a pretty comfortable gap here as we're closing in on the end of this first and opening lap of the Russian GP now, as Bottas is going to try to continue to close in on him as quick as possible. And Valtteri Bottas isn't fully out of this championship battle here. He's in second place in the standings, but it's been Max Verstappen pulling away this whole time, and all of a sudden with Verstappen's DNF in Monza, and right now you can see that Verstappen is not even in the points. This could open the door store for Bottas to close in even more today, as he currently runs in P11. Verstappen does at the end of this first lap. Now we're going to get an onboard of the start there for Lewis Hamilton. So you're going to see lights out, and you can see as well Ricardo just gets a terrible start. So there goes Lewis to the right-hand side. Bottas was on Ricardo's left. Right there, they make contact, and that would actually damage Lewis's left side pod. So he would be a little bit off the pace here now, as they were looking to just try and suffer all the way through to the first pit stop instead of pitting at the end of the first lap. What this did, though, it was already starting to create a train effect, surprisingly. Right there, I did not get a corner cut warning there, as I definitely went wide, obviously, with strict corner cutting on. I was expecting it, but I think maybe me getting out of the throttle saved us right there from a warning. So no warning so far yet here. As you can see, though, on lap 3 with DRS enabled, now I activate it, but you can see up ahead, it's just that train effect, and that's what happens at a track like Russia, Monza, probably Spa as well here. As we're closing in right to the back of that Red Bull, and even Max Verstappen, you know, one of the best drivers on the grid, is stuck behind Yuki Tsunoda there in the AlphaTauri BMW. He cannot pass him because of this train effect that Lewis Hamilton is leading right now, and that Mercedes engine has just enough to keep Lewis out in front, but through the corners he's really suffering with that side pod damage on the left side of his front wing. So that was keeping all of us in the mix here. It was basically 4th place all the way through myself, Ocon, and Leclerc in 14th, just in this train, gearbox to gearbox here. Lap 7 now at this point. I'm starting to get a little bit annoyed with this, so I decided I can see how big of a run I'm getting, and I said, you know what, I don't care if Verstappen's leading the championship. I'm going for the position here. We're side by side here through this final sector now, as I would have, of course, cut him a break, but he hadn't been making any progress whatsoever after I passed him. I gave him 6.5 laps, basically, and now we clear Verstappen, but we get some oversteer right there on the exit of the right-hander. Verstappen's going to try and swing over to the right now, throw a defensive move, but now we're going to be side by side into the penultimate corner, but we hold him off and move up into the 11th position. The only downside is look how much time we gave up to the top 10 out of DRS range, because I was so aggressive there trying to complete the pass on Verstappen, and maybe looking back on it, I probably shouldn't have tried to make that move and maybe been a little bit more patient and waited for the right moment.
Don't panic just yet, but we've seen a problem in our end. We're looking into it.
There you heard the message from Jeff. Don't panic just yet. There might be a problem. We've heard that quite a few times, and it really hasn't been an issue. We've only had one DNF from mechanical failure this season here now as we continue in 11th place, but I was wrong. There goes the engine right there here on just the 8th lap of the Russian GP as our AI takes control, and we are going to be out for the 2nd Grand Prix in a row. We made it, of course, all the way to the final lap in Monza. Then we were part of that crash, and now we're out on just the 8th lap of the Russian GP. Now, a very disappointing day out of nowhere. This turns into now as, wow, I don't even know what to say. I think that's the shortest we've ever made it in a race. I remember we had a mechanical failure earlier this season. We had a few last season, but I think we made it further both times now as we got some post-race celebrations to watch. Let's see who won the race.
And they've taken a fantastic win. Talk to me, Ants. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
Well, this was a real team victory. They put together a solid strategy today that appeared well suited to the conditions out on track. The driver did everything that was expected of them in the moment to really execute the team's plan to perfection. A shining example of how F1 really is a team sport.
Our winning drivers are on their way to the podium right now. It's been a fantastic race for McLaren, that's for sure, and no doubt they'll be celebrating tonight.
There you see the finishing order. So Lando Norris holds on to the victory. Bottas got up to 2nd place. Ricardo 3rd. Verstappen got 5th. So Bottas once again closed in on the championship lead. Unfortunately, we are actually now behind our teammate Sebastian Vettel in points by just 1 point, but he has continued to just pick up the pace and now has put the fight to us as we are just neck and neck here in the closing 7 GPs of the season against our teammate of Sebastian Vettel as we continue in this heated battle with Alpine. That's the only team we are battling at this point now. But yeah, I mean, a big moment right there for Bottas as well as Verstappen in that championship battle. Still enough time for Bottas to easily get himself back into this championship battle and maybe go for not only his second driver's world title, but a back-to-back world title, of course, here. As immediately after the GP, I was looking to make some upgrades to the car, reliability upgrades, of course. Now we do have on the way after that failure there in the Sochi Autodrome. So very, very unfortunate end to that episode. A lot shorter of an episode than we were hoping for, obviously, as we still had another 20 laps remaining in the GP. But now we have 3 durability upgrades coming. So will that help our performance? No, but hopefully our reliability will improve quite significantly. As always, if you guys enjoyed, you know what to do. I'd like to thank you all for taking the time in your day to watch this episode. And I'll see you guys in the next one, where we go to my favorite GP of the season in Singapore. Have a great day, everybody.